Hey guys, so I haven't made a video in a long time, and I thought it's due. It's due time. It's time due. It's due for a video. I forgot what the expression was. Anyway, so I've made a lot of breakthroughs. They're kind of overwhelming in terms of psychology, spirituality, emotional stuff, therapy stuff, a lot of things. It's overwhelming. Like I'm at the edge of bursting out crying almost all of the time because of how crazy this is, and it's so enlightening. Anyway, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. So one of the realizations I've made today and last night, it's an interesting one. So I and my entire life have been an intellectual, a thinker, a philosopher, a person of the mind, a man of ideas. I valued that more than anything, and I couldn't understand why people don't do that. Didn't As smart and intellectual as exceptional a thinker as I was and still am, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that so many people just don't do that. I mean, they don't read books, they don't think, they don't write, they don't read. What do they do with their lives? I just couldn't understand that, and to some degree I decided to ignore it because it's one of those problems I couldn't figure out right now, so I'll figure them out later. That's fine. That's the process. You come across 1 trillion problems and you can't solve them all right now because you're just not ready. You just don't know what you need to know to be able to figure them out, and that's okay. But the breakthrough, the enlightening thing I had happen to me recently is that it's the reason why I became a thinking person. It's because, see, I'm so emotionally fragile and weak and emotionally lacking capacity, I guess you could say. I don't have the emotional capacity. I can't handle the emotional distress. I just can't handle that. I'm just so weak emotionally, so fragile. It's crazy that I cannot touch anything emotional. I can't have any sort of emotional conflict, not even the tiniest bit. I cannot handle it. I didn't know that. I discovered that recently. It wasn't something I knew. I had no idea that was the case. In fact, I think what I believed was that this is the case for everyone, but people aren't smart enough to think their way around conflicts, and so they just bump into conflicts. I thought that I was smarter because I thought around the conflicts. I thought of ways to prevent and avoid the conflicts and sources of suffering and pain. I thought that was better than other people because of that. I mean, I never said that. I never even said it to myself, but deep down that's what I believed. But that's not what I said. If you look back at my previous videos, I can't know for sure because I didn't look at them, I didn't watch them, but I think if you look back you'll get the impression that this is what I believe, but that's not what I'm saying I believe. I'm also not saying I don't believe that, I'm just ignoring it. But this is what I believe. Is that I'm better than other people because I think, and I'm aware of the conflicts that don't need to be there. And I think what I discovered now is that people know they don't need to be there, but they're there, and that's okay, because they're strong enough emotionally, and they're emotionally resilient enough to handle them and move on anyway. And that was the case for me intellectually, just not emotionally. That was the case for other people emotionally, just not intellectually. And so, I guess as a society we balance each other out, but who gives a shit? I'm talking about the level of the individual right now. As an individual, sorry, I'll just go back to my point. I don't want to go off rambling on. So anyway, so since I was younger, I was emotionally fragile, very fragile. And as a coping mechanism, as how my therapist put it, as a coping mechanism, I rationalize, I intellectualize, I philosophize, I think around the problem. I make sense of the problem as a coping mechanism instead of being more emotionally resilient. For some reason, I decided that was my approach. I don't know why, it's just that I decided that. Maybe not consciously, I don't fucking know, but I went down that path. And so to avoid and to shy away from the emotional conflicts, I rationalize and I think, and I became so stupendously good at thinking. And I think I am an exceptional thinker, and I think that's, to a lot of people, that's apparent, that's clear, it's obvious that that's the case. I don't internalize that. It's really hard for me to believe that I'm such a good thinker, even though I'm saying it now. Even though I say it, I don't fully believe it, but that's what a lot of people tell me. And I think they're being very sincere and honest with themselves and with me. Anyway, so because I was so emotionally fragile, I went the path of the intellectual, the one who thinks, and not the one who goes out and does things. So the one who thinks. And then I rationalized so much, so you can imagine like a yin-yang or a circle or a donut-shaped path, where one end is emotional resilience and on the other end is intellectual capacity. And so the emotional side is kind of like emotional, like using your emotional resilience to deal with, fuck, I have to go to the bathroom. Fuck. Okay, I have to go like really soon. Fuck. This hurts. Fuck. I had some bad food. I have bad food like all the time. It's part of what I do to deal with the emotional distresses that I experience. Anyway, back to the topic. So when I get hit emotionally, I respond intellectually and philosophically and with thought, with ideas. And then I started going a lot, like really crazy overboard. I doubled down on my intellectual side, that it went around the donut shaped thing into my emotional side and started to constrict my emotional side. And I kind of rationalized myself into a tiny little box that really suffocates me like mad. And I had all sorts of explanations as to why I'm boxed in. I knew that I was doing it to myself, but I thought I was doing it to myself because that's how the world is. I didn't realize that to fix that means to develop yourself emotionally. I didn't think that at all. Anyway, yeah, you know what? I this sucks because I'm not gonna make this video again. I can't pause it and continue later, and I have to go to the bathroom, so I can't really think very clearly. Anyway, I'm gonna continue and do my best in this recording and see what happens. Look, what I'm trying to say here is that being an intellectual, not on a large scale level, so I'm not talking like if you're an academic who has a PhD in philosophy and stuff like that. I'm talking like if you're on my level, like just a normal guy. You're not really formally educated, you're not an academic, you're not a successful entrepreneur and you got your business going and like a really successful business, you know, like you're just a normal person and you see yourself as an intellectual, as a philosopher, as a thinker, like if that's your identity, you know. I think maybe, and that's the case for me, but I'm saying maybe it's also the case for everyone else. I'm not gonna generalize, but it seems that way to me at the moment. But right now, I know this is the case for myself, which is that I I, I see I identified and I see myself as a philosopher, as an intellectual, not because I think, no, not because I believe wholeheartedly that that's how I should be and that that's the best way to be. No, it's just that that's a response to me being so emotionally fragile and weak and unresilient, or yeah, unresilient. And so I just discovered this recently, and it's so enlightening to see the world with this other lens. And you don't want one lens, you want both lenses, you want them both, you know. You want to have intellectual capacity, and you want to also have emotional capacity, and you want to balance them out and use each of them when it's appropriate, not double down on one and neglect the other. That's never ever gonna work. It will it will slice you in half, and it will hurt. And when you do get sliced in half, you must remember that you're not supposed to be in one place, you're supposed to be in two places: the emotional side and the intellectual side. Not in two places, that's wrong. It's more like you need to have both things, both tools at your disposal, and use them appropriately. And you my advice to people who are like how I used to be, or how I still sort of am, is when you're thinking intellectually, when you're being the philosopher, when you're thinking that way, ask yourself, what's motivating you? What's your motivation? I mean, this is the kind of thing you need to figure out on your own, because if there's other people around, if there's other people involved in this, you might be tempted to respond with your persona, not your actual self. And your persona is like the mask you put on between the real you, deep down, and other people. And so the persona is the thing that is the face that other people interact with, thinking it's you, but you hide behind the persona to protect yourself from being exposed and being vulnerable to being vulnerable. And so just ask yourself, like, you have to do this alone. You ask yourself, what's driving you? What's motivating you? I discovered this recently, and it's so enlightening, man. God, it's so fucking enlightening. It's so enlightening. And the word enlighten means that it sheds lights. It means that it sheds light on things that were previously dark, and so they were enlightened. Light was shed on them, and they were enlightened. And so your psyche, or my psyche, became enlightened from this realization. And I'm seeing things. I'm just seeing a whole brand new world. Wow, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe this. It's just so overwhelming, in a very good way. And I'm starting to better see that the emotional stuff have their place. They're not bad, and they're not good. They have their place, just like the intellectual side has its place. And what you want to do is you want to integrate them. I think I spoke about this integration thing before. But what you want to do is not choose one over the other. You want to integrate them and use them both appropriately. This is making me discover, and this is not something an INTP would discover. Not the usual INTP. And so I think that partly because of this, I'm thinking that the whole MBTI typing system is bullshit. There are no types of personality. There may be types of psychology, but even that, types of psyches. But even that, you can develop yourself to transcend your type. I don't think you're set on a type. I used to think that for a while, but I don't think that anymore. Anyway, um, so the thing I realized recently is that the default is your emotional side, not your intellectual side. That's the default. This one costs less energy to to maintain and to be, and it's more natural, and it's better. It works better. It's less stressful, and if this is the case, which I think it is, it makes sense why most people in the world, most of the human population, they go with the emotional side, not the intellectual side, because it works better. It really does. It works better. It makes your life better. It makes you feel better. It puts you more at peace and at ease with yourself, and it feels right. Like when you be in your emotional state, not your intellectual, like in your emotional mode, not your intellectual mode of interpreting the world, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like, it's more natural. It's more effortless. That's exactly it. It's more effortless. And I guess if you're stuck with one or the other, then use it to find the other. If you're stuck as an intellectual, then use your intellectual capacity to find your emotional capacity. You know? There's no reason you can't. There's really no reason you can't. I mean, I used stories like Noah's Ark to find it, you know? I just used whatever I could get my hands on. Anyway, so I've got to go. I've got to go. I just wanted to mention, I just wanted to talk about this. I just wanted to say this and to make this video. It's been a while since I made a video. And I'd like to be a bit more active, because this channel is kind of like it's recording my journey. And it would be nice if I had this recorded somewhere as I go through it, not in retrospect or in hindsight. It's as I go through it. Although I tend to make videos in these pivoting points. So not during, let's say that there's the overarching journey, and in this journey there's a bunch of missions and quests. I tend to make videos between the quests, at the end of a quest usually. So after the quest is done, and the tree bore some fruit, born, I don't know, like it had some fruit. I make a video about the fruit, but not the process of making the fruit. I don't make a video about that. I'm not sure how wise this is, but and how true this is, but I think that process of making the fruit is a personal thing. It's personal. It's my experience, and yours will be so different that we're not gonna have the same tree or even the same branch. We may have the same fruits, but we're not gonna have the same trees. I'll be my tree. I discovered mine. I created mine. I found mine, I guess. And I used seeds from fruits from other trees, and those trees weren't like my tree. So I learned things from Jordan Peterson, but the way he discovered them, his tree that bore those fruits that I used to build my tree, to plant my tree, those branches of his, those trees of his, are nothing like mine. And it may be the case that no two trees are alike. And a tree is a metaphor for a person, basically, or a human psychology, or a spirit, or a soul. I don't know, but and so it doesn't matter to me how Jordan Peterson did his stuff, and just as that doesn't matter to me, that doesn't matter to you how I did my stuff. It's my experience. It's my right. It's my possession. It's my only possession. It's my experience. It's personal. Not in a egoic way. It's just more like it's the one thing that is not shared between individuals, which is this way of growth, this journey. It's a personal journey. It's a subjective, it's an inwardly oriented journey. I share with you the stuff that are on the surface that you can see, the more objective stuff. The fruits are a good example, but your journey is going to be different than mine, so even sharing that with you might confuse you. There's no good that will come out of it. It would just be indulgence, like you're just indulging in my story, indulging in my journey. And that I felt the same desire with Jordan Peterson. I wanted to know more, but when I asked myself why I wanted to know more, what's my motivation, what am I after, it wasn't because I needed to know so I can get myself to be better. No, so I knew everything I needed to know to get myself in order. I just wanted to know more of his story because I wanted to indulge. It's like a movie, and it's an interesting movie, and so sharing anymore is indulgent. It's too much. It's too close to gluttony as a deadly sin. But yeah. Anyway, I gotta go. It's been 22 minutes. And I believe I have some schoolwork to do. I'm not gonna do any schoolwork, honestly. I'm just gonna sit there, relax, maybe read, do some nothing, stare at nothing, have some coffee. I have a class in 2 hours. Okay. Thank you for watching to the very end if you have. I do appreciate your attention. I really do. I don't necessarily appreciate the views. That doesn't matter as much. It does matter that I see the number go up. That's really nice. But it matters a lot that someone watches, someone is this interested in me. It means a lot. It really does. So yeah, good luck with your journeys. I hope the best for you. I really do. And just don't give up on yourselves. Just don't give up on yourselves. I will see you sometime in the not too distant future.